Welcome back to the Unread Book Summary YouTube channel. We truly appreciate you joining us, whether you're watching or listening from near or far. Please remember to subscribe and give this video a like.
Okay, so let's unpack this one today. We're diving into Martha Beck's Beyond Anxiety. It's really a compelling look at moving from that constant worry to finding, well, maybe your life's unique purpose.
Yeah, and what's really striking right off the bat is the sheer scale Beck points out.
Yeah.
I mean, anxiety disorders apparently surged, 25% just during the pandemic?
Wow, 25%. That's huge.
It is. And globally, that affected something like 374 million people by 2020. Beck herself went through this intense journey, which she calls her own inner pandemic. So it really highlights how this isn't just, an individual thing. It's massive, collective, really.
That puts it in perspective. So one of the first things I found super helpful in the book was Beck's distinction between actual fear and, well, anxiety.
Right. That's fundamental to her whole argument. Yeah, she says true fear, that's it's fleeting, it's a survival thing. There's a real danger right now. You react, it passes.
Like the classic saber-toothed tiger showing up. You don't sit around pondering, you just react.
Exactly. But then she talks about anxiety, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. She pins it on our left brain, the logical, the planning part.
The part that's always trying to figure things out, make sense of stuff.
Right. And she argues that part of the brain just spins these terrifying stories endlessly. Even when there's absolutely no real threat in the moment, it keeps us kind of stuck on high alert.
Which is exhausting. And it raises that big question, doesn't it? Why? Why does our brain do that? Why does the left brain get so dominant in this way?
Yeah, what did she say about that?
Well, Beck suggests our whole culture kind of feeds into it. We're so focused on logic, control, planning. That left brain way of operating.
Okay, so the culture itself pushes us that way.
That's the idea. It fuels this anxiety spiral.
Yeah.
And it makes us prone to what psychologists call a negativity bias. We're just wired to look for the bad stuff, the potential threats.
We get stuck focusing on what could go wrong rather than what's actually happening.
Exactly. And then we fall into these defense patterns she mentions. Fight, flight, fawn, freeze, or even flop, these kind of automatic cascades.
Like hitting the panic button even when there's no fire.
Precisely. She gives that example. Think about airport security after 9/11. Obviously necessary on one level, but the way it's sometimes implemented can also ramp up collective fear, right? It feeds into that anxiety.
Yeah.
It doesn't just deal with the immediate danger.
That makes sense. It becomes this background hum of potential threat. So if the left brain and its stories are kind of the source of the problem, what's the way out, according to Beck? It's not just about managing it, is it?
No, not at all. That's key. She argues you have to actively replace the anxiety. And you do that by essentially shifting gears, activating the other side of the brain.
The right hemisphere, the more intuitive, creative side.
Exactly. The part that sees the bigger picture, that feels, that connects, that's, well, less about linear logic and more about flow and intuition.
Okay, so how do you actually do that? How do you make that shift?
Well, the first step she outlines is what she calls calming the creature, which is a great phrase, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. What does it mean?
It basically means soothing your amygdala. That's the brain's little alarm system. It's constantly scanning for danger, so you need to kind of whisper to it that things are okay.
Amygdala whispering.
Okay.
And how do you whisper to your amygdala?
She suggests really simple physical things like long sighs, just consciously sighing out. Apparently that activates the vagus nerve, which sends a safe signal back to your brain.
Huh, just sighing.
Yeah. And also accepting the anxiety when it comes up, not fighting it, just acknowledging it. And then actively looking for what she calls glimmers.
Glimmers. What are glimmers?
They're the opposite of triggers. Tiny, almost unnoticeable moments of unexpected joy or peace or connection. Not huge things.
So not like winning the lottery, but maybe.
Maybe the feeling of sun on your skin for a second, or hearing a particular bird song, or, the taste of your morning coffee. Really small, simple moments of ease.
Okay, so you notice those tiny good things to kind of recalibrate your nervous system away from threat.
That's the idea. It gently nudges your system back towards safety and calm. It sounds small, but she says it's foundational. You start there.
Right. Build that foundation of calm first. Okay, so once you've started calming the creature, what's next on this path?
Then comes activating your creative self. This is about tapping into that right brain energy more deliberately.
And this is where that idea of different types of curiosity comes in, right? I found that fascinating.
Yeah, the distinction between interest curiosity and deprivation curiosity.
Explain that a bit more.
Well, deprivation curiosity is that anxious kind of searching. Like, what am I missing? What do I need to fix? What's wrong? It's driven by a sense of lack.
Okay, I recognize that feeling.
Right. But interest curiosity, that's different. That's being genuinely drawn to something just because it fascinates you. It's following what lights you up, what you find inherently interesting, without an agenda of fixing something.
So leaning into what genuinely pulls you forward rather than pushing away from what you fear.
Exactly. And Beck suggests building your life around this. She uses this lovely metaphor of a sanity quilt.
A sanity quilt. I like that too.
Yeah, it's like you find these patches, activities, interests, connections that genuinely fascinate and energize you, and you deliberately stitch them together to create the fabric of your life, a life that feels authentic and supportive.
That sounds much more appealing than just chasing anxieties. She mentions Yvonne Jackson as an example, doesn't she?
Yes, a really powerful example. Yvonne Jackson faced this intense ostracization, this deep wound. But instead of letting it purely define her through anxiety or bitterness, she channeled that into this incredibly passionate advocacy work against injustice.
So she took that painful experience and wove it into her sanity quilt as purpose.
Precisely. She didn't just find her purpose, she actively created it by following that deep driving interest born from her own experience.
Right.
That became her central patch.
Wow. And connecting this to maybe a broader picture, Beck even suggests this creative flow can build its own kind of support system, even financially.
Yeah, she talks about building an economic ecosystem around your passions. It's not about forcing it, but when you genuinely follow what interests you, you often attract others who resonate with that.
Like finding your tribe, almost.
Kind of, and
Yeah.
she uses David Sedaris as an example. He didn't set out with a business plan to become a famous humorist.
Right, he just wrote about weird stuff he noticed.
Exactly. He indulged his unique, sometimes really eccentric interests. He wrote funny, observant essays about his life, his family, things that fascinated him. And that authentic expression, that interest curiosity, just naturally drew people in. It attracted success, readers, opportunities. An ecosystem grew around his unique voice.
So following your genuine interest can actually lead to unexpected forms of abundance. That's hopeful.
It really is. It shifts the focus from striving and forcing to allowing and following.
Okay, so calming the creature, activating creative curiosity, building this sanity quilt.
Yeah.
Where does this whole path ultimately lead? What's the destination?
Well, Beck calls the culmination "don't know mind," which sounds a bit strange at first, maybe.
Yeah, don't know mind. It sounds like giving up, almost.
Not giving up, but more like releasing the need for certainty, letting go of that left brain insistence on having everything figured out under control.
Ah, okay. Releasing the illusion of control.
Exactly. And this connects really powerfully with research like from Dr. Lisa Miller, who studies spirituality and psychology. Miller found that this state of openness, this don't know, is like she calls it a docking station for spiritual awareness.
A docking station.
Yeah. And it has huge psychological benefits, less depression, more optimism, a greater sense of connection. It's about embracing the mystery rather than fearing it.
So letting go of certainty actually opens you up to something deeper.
That seems to be the core idea. And what's truly profound, I think, is Beck's ultimate message that comes out of this whole journey. It's incredibly simple but powerful. You belong.
You belong.
Yes. That moving beyond the grip of anxiety, embracing this don't know mind, this creative flow, it connects you. It connects you not just to yourself, but to creation itself, to something much larger. She describes it as a kind of divine play.
A divine play.
Yeah. And in that connection, in that sense of being part of this larger unfolding, that's where you find a really profound intrinsic sense of safety. You realize your place isn't something you have to fight for or figure out constantly. You just belong. That's the ultimate antidote to the isolation of anxiety.
That's a beautiful place to arrive, moving from constant threat assessment to a deep sense of belonging.
A fundamental shift in perspective.
Okay, that gives us a lot to think about, which leads nicely into our final thought for you, the listener. If, as Beck suggests, so much of our anxiety really stems from this relentless quest for certainty and control, what kind of, maybe, magic could we unleash in our own lives, in our careers, if we leaned more into trusting our curiosity? If we dared to embrace the unknown a little bit more, what might unfold if we let don't know guide us sometimes? This concludes today's book summary. Thank you so much for joining us and for your continued support. Please do subscribe to stay updated with our latest summaries, and we'll see you in the next video.